For Christmas, my lovely wife bought me this shiny new bandsaw. It's a Titan one, it's from Screwfix. As you can see at the minute, I've just got it on my workbench. It's not a bad height, but I'm going to build a stand or station for it that's going to be on wheels with some drawers, just so I can move it around the workshop a bit easier. I constructed the bandsaw station using CLS timber that was 38 by 63mm for the frame, and used 12mm plywood for the drawers and the top. To start with, I cut all the timber to the appropriate length for the frame on my miter saw. Once everything's cut and ready to be assembled, I then use my pocket hole jig to assemble all the joints using 2.5-inch pocket hole screws. I start off by assembling the two sides of the frame. Once the sides are complete, I then join them together using a strut across each corner. With the frame complete, the drawer runners can then be added. I mark the position for the runners. And then pilot hole and screw them onto the frame. Once the runners are in position, I clamp them and then check the distance between them to make sure that I'm going to build the drawers to the right size. The cut drawers are then checked to make sure that they fit properly. I also check the height of the drawers to make sure it's not going to interfere with the frame. The drawers are entirely constructed of 12mm plywood, which I first of all cut down to the appropriate width on my table saw. And then cut to length on my miter saw. Before I assemble the drawers, I check that the drawer base fits the place for the runners. Because it's just a bandsaw station, the drawers are going to be very simple in terms of assembly. I just screw them together. To join the sides of the drawers together, I first of all use a countersink pilot bit and then screw them end to end. Use 3 screws in each one to make sure they're nice and secure. The base of the drawers is just screwed on to the frame for the sides and the front and the back. Again, this is done using pilot holes that are countersunk in. I secure the runners to the bottom of the drawers using the screws provided. I use a hinge drill bit to make sure that the holes are centered correctly for the drawers, and then just screw them in. Both drawers are constructed in exactly the same way. Once I've constructed the first one, I check to make sure it fits and is running smoothly, and then take the measurements to mount the next runner to make sure that the second drawer isn't going to interfere with the drawer above. I then check that the second drawer is going to slide smoothly in conjunction with the first one to make sure they're not interfering with one another. With the drawers in position, it's now time to make the faces for the drawers themselves. I left this till after building the drawers to make sure that they would fit in exactly the right place, and I took the measurements before cutting them. The drawer fronts are cut to length on my miter saw, and I then use double-sided tape to stick to the front of each of the drawers that I can then use to stick the drawer fronts to them to make sure they're properly lined up before piloting from the back and then screwing them onto the actual drawer themselves. Next I add the top for the bandsaw itself to sit on. I ended up using 18mm ply for this to make it a bit more sturdy. This is done by simply using a pilot and countersink bit to drill the pilot holes and then to screw the top on. I've used 8 screws in total to secure it. I've just used drywall screws, it was what I had lying around. To make the station mobile, I'm adding casters. I've used ones with brakes that I can put on to stop it sliding around. These are just screwed on to the base of the frame. Once the bandsaw station's complete, I can then look to bolt the bandsaw itself to the top of the station to stop it moving around. I start by drilling the holes through the bandsaw into the top and then enlarge the holes to make sure that the bolts will fit. I then bolt through the bottom and tighten the bolts to make sure that the bandsaw is nice and tight to the top. Using some sandpaper, I then take off all the edges to make sure that they're not sharp and just generally clean everything up a bit. Finally, I put a shelf on the bottom. I ended up using some 6mm MDF I had lying around. I mark out where the frame's going to go and then use the bandsaw on the new bandsaw station to cut the pieces out. The shelf then sits on the bottom of the frame. I'm going to use it to put a box for scraps in. So that's the completed bandsaw station. I find it quite useful. It's a good height and I can move it around the workshop quite easily. It's useful to have the drawers. I've got the fence in there and some other bits. There's nothing in it at the minute, but I'm also going to need to put some handles on. I didn't have any handles available and I wanted to get the video finished, but I'm just going to use some little handles that I'll attach to the front. I might also look to give it some sort of finish, maybe Danish oil or something similar. The build of this station was done using SketchUp. I designed it first and planned the build. It's the first time I've done it. I found it really useful and I'll be looking to add plans in the description of this video. That's the end of the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, feel free to give me a thumbs down. If you give me a thumbs down, let me know why. I'll try and improve. Feel free to make a comment. I do my best to answer all of them. And if you're interested in any other videos, you can click either here or here to see some of my other videos. It varies what's showing depending on when you see this video yourself. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, as I hopefully will try and be posting a video every week. My next one is likely to be building a new workbench and miter saw station, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Hopefully see you again soon.